Hey everyone, Green Cricket here, and today I'll show you an upgraded version of the standard Alchemy deck. We cover the topics deck list and card analysis, Mulligan guideline, deck tips and tricks, and then we talk about how to play against each matchup. Let's start. First of all, we are not running Calvage because the deck is already pretty consistent and we don't need to sacrifice any points for that. Instead, we go with Raw Power because Usurper typically gets us 17 points and more depending on the situation. If you are behind, drop Usurper and you'll catch up immediately, and even if you get bad draws, you won't end up with bad tempo. I'll talk about detailed Usurper usage in the deck's tip and tricks section. The core deck, however, has the basic components of every Alchemy deck: 3 Markham Ales, 3 Ointments, 3 Vilgefortz Novices, 3 Viper Witches and 3 Slave Drivers. Vilgefortz Novice is able to look up 2 random bronze alchemy cards off your deck, and then you are able to play one of them. In round 1, we use the Novices to pull Ale and putting 14 solid points onto the board. This is nice tempo and fits the deck, so we can reliably access Ointments in round 3. Since Markham Ale needs 3 targets to reach its full value, we use Slave Drivers as our board setup tool. Slave Driver lets you create 1 out of 3 random bronze units from the enemy deck, so one Slave Driver will always get you at least 2 units onto the board. That way you can just play Slave Driver, then recover Medic and already get the full points from Ale. Sometimes Slave Driver is providing you with more than 1 unit, for example when you create a Beastmaster or an Elven Scout. Ointments resurrect a bronze card with 5 or less power. Since all our cards have less than or equal 5 power, they give us great versatility in round 3. Viper Witches do 9 damage in this deck because we've included 9 alchemy cards. 9 damage is enough to get rid of nearly every engine out there and makes witches solid 14 point cards as well. However, the silver and gold cards are where this deck becomes a little more potent than the standard versions. The biggest change is the addition of Olgierd, which is our safety measure against being on the wrong side of the coin flip. Playing Olgierd in round 1 ensures that we can lose on equal cards because the enemy is not able to dry press or play spy ping pong with us. It also provides an additional body for Markham Ale when we have no Slave Drivers for the board setup. Then we are using Rainfarm together with Cantarella and Joachim. Rainfarm is there to have better access to both of them, and since we are using 2 spying units, he won't end up as a dead card. Cantarella has 3 benefits. It enables us to counter an enemy spy. It enables us to secure a card advantage on a high tempo round or in round 2 if the enemy does not run spies, and it provides us with a target for Viper Witches if we need one. Joachim, especially in combination with Rainfarm, is a big tempo push, enabling us to bleed an enemy or secure the win in a short round 3. Enemies will play around Expired Ale, but even then it is a 12-point alchemy card. But with Joachim and Cantarella, you easily can get the 18 points out of it. Runestone is another alchemy card, able to generate good points depending on your create options and your situation. Stefan's Kellen lets you put a card on top of your deck, adding 5 points to it. Through him, you can easily set up your perfect round 3 or use him to play before Vilgefortz to make your enemy cry because of all the points you drop onto the board. Vilgefortz is solid points one way or the other, and I'll go into detailed usage in the tips and tricks section. Trial of the Grasses is another alchemy card able to add 20 points as a finisher in round 3 or as a big tempo play in round 2. If you add another Swallow to the deck, then this card could be exchanged for Igni or other cards depending on the meta. Let's talk mulligans. You wanna look out for Olgierd or Elsa's Double Cross, Cantarella, and of course all your gold cards. Blacklist Markham Ale immediately, but keep 1 Ointment on your hand so that your Vilgefortz medics draw Ales for sure in round 1. Assure that you have something to set up your Ales like Slave Drivers, and try to have at least 1 Witcher so you can kill enemy engines and have it available as a res in round 3. Beware that Elsa's Double Cross pulls Cantarella if it is still in the deck, so use this to your advantage. Let's move to the tips and tricks sections of this deck guide. Before we talk about card combinations, we need to talk about probabilities. To master your Vilgefortz medics, you need to know how likely it is to draw Ointment instead of Ale in round 1. Drawing Ointment is especially bad if you have nothing to res on your graveyard. If there is something to resurrect, then the only disadvantage is that you may be stuck with an Ale in round 3. Let's check the following table for how likely it is to draw Ale, depending on how much Bronze Alchemy is still in your deck. The first 2 columns tell us how much Ales or Ointments are still left in the deck. Since Vilgefortz Medic draws 2 alchemy cards, there's 1 column for each draw. The second chance to draw Ale is higher because we already removed an Ointment within the first draw. On the right you see the total chance of drawing Ale. As you can see, it is pretty high, but for maximizing the value and get it over 90%, we always want to keep Ointment out of the deck, so we have a 90, 84 and 67% chance to draw Ointment instead of 80%, 70% and 50%. This makes our 2 first draws almost guaranteed. Another trick is to chain Vilgefortz Novices to thin your deck and to put some extra value on the board. If you know that you can't access your remaining ointments or you want to thin to be able to draw a gold card, you may want to play Vilgefortz Medic, select Ointment, resurrect the Vilgefortz Medic and keep this going until all the Alchemy cards in your deck are gone. Having 6 points or not having those points may be the difference between winning or losing, so always maximize your points. Usurper is a solid tempo play most of the time, but we can increase his power even further by doing some preparation. Playing Usurper late in a round usually gives you more options and points if you think of Redovate, Philoventrel or Harald. Since there's a chance to get Ifni, I also try to already have a silver spell in my graveyard for her to replay. Leaders like Iced, Ada and Eredin can provide you bodies for your Markham Ale. Whispering Billock, Unseen Elder, Philoventrel can provide you big point spikes, especially when the enemy has big units, think of Modrome, Scourge and so on. And then Krach and Prover can access cards in your deck. So don't be afraid of using Usurper and try to play him with a round where you can get the maximum of options for him. Vilgefortz is most of the time used to play another card from your deck, but there are certain situations where it is good to use Vilgefortz to destroy an enemy unit. For me those are a short run free where the enemy has played Sirinova, Trial of the Grasses or something worth a lot of points which he can't recover through drawing a bronze card. When the enemy thinned down to 0, or I'm sure that he won't be able to get a bronze card from Vilgefortz because there's none left in his deck. When there's a decent chance that I'm not getting a lot of value by playing another card of my deck, like when the enemy is row stacking and it's pretty likely that Expired Ale is the next card. Always try to have the last card and keep a Witcher or Ointment in your hand if you're running Trial of the Grasses. You don't want to end up in a situation where I'll play a Witcher, then the enemy removes it and suddenly you have no target for Trial of the Grasses. Also don't forget that you can use Trial of the Grasses offensively for killing a unit with 10 power or less. This becomes useful in a situation where the enemy really relies on a specific unit, like killing the only Henselt target, thus rendering him useless. Last but not least, let's quickly go over the matchups. Henselt. Try to bleed him into a short run free and disable his target for Siege Towers or Henselt himself. Especially Battering Rams will give him good value since he can kill your medics and slave drivers, so try to grow them beyond the 5-point mark immediately. Greatswords. Greatswords is an engine deck. Alchemy is control. Perfect. Try to get as much removal as possible into your hand and don't give him the opportunity to grow big. Marauder ships. Similar to Greatswords, you want to have witches in your hand to get rid of every ship appearing on the enemy side of the board. Use slave drivers to set up ships on your side and outgrow him. Always damage cursed units or go for the kill or his marauders will grow big. Mulligan elves. Kill elves instead of damaging them so they won't be buffed, but except that you want to just outtempo them. Your All Good will save you from around 2 Wardens a drop, so don't care too much about winning or losing round 1. Important is that you prevent your enemy from playing a long round 3, so try to split the rounds as good as possible. Nova Elves. Keep Vilgefortz to destroy the enemy Sirinova and immediately get rid of cards like Dragoons or Hocker Smuggler. Don't care too much about Farseer. As long as there are no Dragoons on the board, it won't grow too big. Alchemy Mirror Match. Typically you play against Calvit as leader, so we have the advantage of Usurper's tempo push. Try to mulligan for slave drivers and focus on creating their Viper Witches, or you may overthin your alchemy cards resulting in a dead Vilgefortz Medic. Their last round is strong because they usually Mandrake Calvit and then get it back out with Kahir plus Roach or and use Trial of the Grasses. Keep Vilgefortz ready to counter this power spike. Also, beware of Asaya. She may put a dead Cantarella back into your deck, so keep that in mind in your mulligans. Reveal. Get witches in your hand and destroy the Mangonel. Some of them play Drought, so try to get it out in round 1 with a good pass so you are not forced into it in round 3. Ultimate or Greedy Consume. Don't let them grow their Neckers and target their Ren warriors. If you can pull out Neckers early, that's good as well. Keep Vilgefortz and hit a big target in round 3. After Neckers are out, his bronzes won't be able to generate value anymore. In round 1, you should go for Insane Tempo, try to block his full Necker setup by forcing him 2 or 3 cards down with Rainfarm, Usurper and co. That way he needs more setup later, and you can try to bleed him in round 2. Deathwish. Don't be afraid of killing their Deathwish units. If you don't kill them, they will use Griffin or Cyclops to trigger it anyhow, so better to prevent them their targets. Try to keep a Witcher ready in the case they play a Babagazi, because it will outvalue your Olgate and render it useless. Okay then, let's head into a game so I can show you what this deck is all about.
God great again!
Oh, that's good to have. We don't want to have those. Are you playing what? Brewer. Brewer has okay-ish slave driver targets. I'm not sure about witches. We don't have too much to... Well, it depends if he's like playing some Nova variant or not. This is okay. This gives me a big power play if I want to. Let's look what he has.
To work!
So he's playing dwarves. What's that? That's 11. That's... Let's go for Kara over here.
I shall not fail!
So dwarves, it seems. Nice.
Only death here for Dwan.
And there we have a target to kill.
Here's our chance.
No Hardcore Smuggler on my watch.
I
was pretty lucky to get it from Nilfgaard. Yeah, hit my dwarves.
I'm in no mood for jests.
Okay, I don't care too much. So there we go. There's my old geared. My insurance for losing. Especially on blue coin. Oh really, you have another one of those.
Time to get our
How lucky are you actually? Wow. Getting 2 smugglers from Nilfgaard, like Hawker Smuggler is one of the better cards in Squirtel. Decoy the Barkley, sure. Oh, thanks for playing it here. Because now I have a target. Oh well, actually we need to wait until we see have a target here. Let's play Runestone. Treason. Well, it's kinda meh. How much is it? 5... 10 points of value. Vanema, we could go into a creating of Gun and Soldier. It's actually interesting. We could get something cool from him.
live and die for the Emperor.
Or not. Let's actually take this one because it will grow thanks to Usurper. This was a 10 point, actually 12 point runestone.
I shall not fail.
Not too good. Well, let's see. We cannot play. Oh wait, we could get Ramda back on our hand, or go for Slave Driver. Or we Mulligan. What would we swap though? Would we swap Trial of Aggressors? Or no, actually we have pretty good cards here. Let's play Emir.
The North shall tuck tail.
Let's use this one, go for some damage, and then we pull back a Slave Driver onto our hand. Because like pulling back a 1 doesn't matter at all. And now we can have a potentially, I don't know, a Neophyte. We'll see.
I shall not fail. To work.
What do we get? Oh, a Dwarf. Well, it's not bad value, so that's that.
Scoia'tael, attack!
I mean, we are 23 points ahead, it's quite decent. And we are thinning our deck. So the good cards we still have in the hand.
That was not in the spell.
So more thinning. And 28 points ahead. We can think of passing at some point, I guess. We also have like, especially since we have all geared. So because if he can't make 28 points and like he runs into all geared, like, yeah, there we go. But the good thing is we have now all geared, and I mean we also have Rainfarm, so if you play Cantarella now, he can't just play Spire, he needs to actually play Spy and a card. Ointment is okay, Slave Driver I'm not too sure of. Stefan's Kiln would be really good, but what else could we get here? Ale. Something we don't want to. Question is, do we dry pass and play Cantarella afterwards, or do we play Joachim? Do we want to play into this or not? I mean, he's playing... We could drain maybe Paulian stuff from him, but like those cards are actually better in the long round. So let's take the long round. And let's see.
Only death here for Dwan.
Let's see.
Blood and neck ends. Similian Vart.
There we go. Good, good. He mulliganed a bit. We mulligan away the alien blacklisted, and we get Cantarella. Okay, so it seems we play Cantarella for sure.
No surprise.
And then we play a Rainfarm. If we get Stefan's Kellen from her, we can at least decide what we get with Rainfarm, which is decent. And we also make him a bit afraid by using this.
Shall be your eyes, my lord.
So this should give him a slight heart attack. Even though we can't do anything about it. Good thing is we have now 2 last cards, so we get Trial of the Grasses through for sure, which is good.
Mahakam wasn't built in a day.
Let's see.
Obedience or the lash.
Well,
Scoia'tael, attack!
I'll keep the heart attack on.
The customer is king.
Sure. What does he play?
For Mulligan!
Well, let's see what we get.
To work!
An Elven Scout, look at this. And
Quiet, Meta Parks!
ooh, we could mulligan. But what would you mulligan? Nothing. We could go for Elf Mercenary though. Those won't tick too much, but Mercenary on that hand will give us
Have strength, my love.
appointments, for example. So we could go into a new Vico Aromatic.
That was not in the
Into
spellbooks.
a new Vico Aromatic. Into a Slave Driver.
Move!
Into an Elven Scout.
Only death here for Dwan.
Into Sage. Oh my god, this is crazy.
Yes. That would
Into an
fit
Ointment. Into Witcher. Oh god.
perfectly. Here's our chance.
That was the best chain I've did in a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That were some points there. Right there. Nice. Okay, I guess we go for Joachim now. Pulling the Witcher. There he is. And we hit, I don't know. Why not Cantarella? So we're actually like keeping up, even though we played a Spy.
We've lived
And we still have Vilgefortz.
for too bloody long.
Whatever we get, it's okay. Except Stefan is kind of meh, but what can you do?
An interesting choice.
And it is Nail. Actually, like without those two, we already kind of kept up, even though Toril is there. So how much are we behind? We're now 25 points behind, so this is perfect. There's the Witcher.
Here's our chance.
Pew pew. And then we get enough points to reveal. There we go. Leveling up the Witcher, to reveal will now appear, and we will see that we have won. Awesome. I tried to make the guide very detailed, so if you have any questions or feedback, tell me down in the comments below. And if this is your first time here, I'd love you to subscribe to the channel and join our little cricket community. See you in game.